Hey guys, welcome to my sleepless night. If you're new around here, sometimes I cannot sleep. I got up at like 1 o'clock today and I've been thinking and my mind has been stirring. And sometimes I talk about a misdiagnosis I had of a borderline personality disorder and some harmful therapy methods that came along with it. I'm actually bipolar. I have like a textbook case of bipolar 1. And I'm okay with it because I take medications and they straighten me out and I can function. you know, like behavior modification isn't necessarily part of it. I think the medications help you behave better. Some people, I know when I have psychotic symptoms, I deal sometimes with rage, which is funny because I'm a marijuana smoker and I'm super chill most of the time. But when I'm psychotic, it's not normal for me to rage. But if you have that borderline personality disorder diagnosis, they'll attribute that rage to a flaw in your personality. So I talked about stuff like that on here because I feel like my psychotic symptoms were treated as personality defects and they were trying to correct my behaviors. That's not how psychotic people work. You're out of touch with reality. And they even, with BPD, they recognize that patients can be out of touch with reality, but they attribute it to your personality again, like stress, wanting to fit in. That one gets me. So I joined a group on Facebook about borderline personality disorder because I'm just reflecting. I'm in a much better place this year. Like last year this time, I was sort of going a little downhill, getting ready to go to the mental hospital in January. It was starting to all unravel about this time of year, and this year I'm fine. I'm not having any symptoms at all. So I thought it would be a good time to reflect. Last year I was having some kind of like trauma response, and it made my recovery in the hospital real tricky because my head was so full of garbage from this crap. But I joined a group and they post a lot of memes in there, and I kind of wanted to go over some of the things that they say about themselves that reinforce the stigma about BPD. The professionals and the mental health industrial complex have come up with these certain things, these criterias. The fear of abandonment, I don't know what they're talking about. Like, I never had that. I broke up with a boyfriend, sort of had a pattern of breaking up with the boyfriend first, but like they weren't good boyfriends, and it was empowering for me to walk away from them. But the mental health industrial complex, my counselor at the time, or my case manager, she said that I was dumping them first because I feared abandonment. So I couldn't even I wasn't even entitled to dump my boyfriends without it being part of a disorder. And then I talk about stuff like that on this channel. Okay, so here's a meme that says, it's okay to make mistakes, be yourself, have bad days, say no, and to not be okay. The only one that I agree with on here is I was allowed to make mistakes. That is one thing I will give that mental health facility that I was getting services from. I had like a slip. I wouldn't necessarily call it a relapse, but I had like a slip And I had to go to my original case manager and kind of like admit what I had done because I got in trouble. It was a bad slip. And he was like, oh, it's okay, you know, a slip is often part of recovery. You just start over. Basically, it's not a relapse. And he was right, because I stayed sober for 7 years after that. So I do think I was allowed to make mistakes. I don't think I was allowed to be myself. I was constantly reminded that myself was bad and needed to be corrected. And things I liked about myself, such as like wearing makeup and doing my hair different all the time, that was criticized as part of the disorder, okay? So, I wasn't allowed to have bad days. If I had bad days, that was graphed on a chart, you know. God forbid I was in a bad mood, and I was a lot of the time. Irritability is like a symptom of bipolar, untreated bipolar disorder. Like the medications they give you for bipolar, like just absolutely kill the irritability, and it goes away completely. I only get irritable now when I'm psychotic, or manic, which is, I'm always psychotic when I'm manic, so... I also don't believe I was allowed to say no, because I said no to their therapies and their methods many, many, many times, and they called me resistant. So, I also don't believe I had permission to not be okay. We were expected to achieve Zen. Okay, here was a meme. When someone with BPD is highly emotionally aroused, do not expect them to act in a logical way. I think as human beings, in general, there is an expectation to maintain a balance in your emotions. Okay, I understand that. It's just my emotions are very balanced, and I think at the time that I had this BPD label, they were telling me my emotions were unstable, and I didn't like that, because I felt like my emotions were very valid in the things I was dealing with. I still feel like that. I think my emotional responses were totally normal to gendered violence, for example, or abuse. Things like that. You know, people react to abuse and then they get accused of being unstable. That's really shitty. And I think that's abusive. So, but I also, as a BPD person, that's not an excuse. Like, this is almost saying, BPD, like, there's an expectation for everybody, whether you have a mental illness or not. I think I said that already. I don't know. I just don't agree with this statement at all. Okay, and then the final one. Having BPD means that no one loves the real you. The hard parts, the pain that keeps you up at night. They love the person you have to work to be, that makes you exhausted to be. That's why so many of us end our lives. It's hard to be alone. Okay, so no, I don't agree with this. Because what they're saying is they're agreeing with the system. So the mental health industrial complex tells somebody with borderline personality disorder that they have identity crisis, that they don't know their own identity. Okay, they don't know who they are. But then they create this very negative stereotype personality for you that tells you you're bad, but then they present to you this other personality that you are expected to achieve in order to fit into society or whatever in order to succumb to this cult. I call it a cult. Yeah, and it can be pretty exhausting for a person to try to achieve that because, like Zen, for example, I talk about that one all the time. They act like you need to be in a state of Zen, and if you aren't, then you're just not using your skills. But the normal everyday people aren't in Zen. Nobody is. A lot of normal everyday people, like, have very bad communication, coping skills, things like that. So, and I just don't believe as patients, you know, it's hard for me to see my peers and things like that succumbing to the lies that the system is like telling us to sell programs and collect government grants. That's what it's all about. Okay, well, come here, Trixie. Come here, Trixie girl. Say hi. She's kind of a dirty dog. She just had a bath recently, but she likes to roll around in the dirt and play in the snow, stuff like that. So, okay, guys, I guess I'll see you next time. Bye.